could have other opinions that, good opinions too.
If you're in my way, we gotta do battle.
Here goes. He's gonna attack!
Your bike basically is my life. My brain probably wanders a lot. I don't know.
Here it is, the Moto Limited Show. Welcome everybody to show number 19, and this is the first one we are attempting to record here in studio. So you may be watching this on Facebook. Everyone will see you in studio. I'm your host as always, Trent Marr, and as I said, a big show for us tonight. We've been trying to get the live stream going. It didn't quite eventuate tonight, but we're going to record it anyway, and for the weeks to come, definitely something exciting for the Moto Limited Show. As I said, guys, show number 19, big show tonight. We've got a lot on and very excited to get into it. But first, we'll start with our sponsors, MPE Suspension, mpe.com.au. Paul has been specialising in customising motorcycle suspension to suit the owner's individual requirements, customising spring rates, dampening, height, shock heights, all that. He does the best in the field. And he's also the Husqvarna dealer up on the Sunshine Coast. So if you're looking to get any work done on your bike or in the hunt for a new Husqvarna, get up and see Paul and the team there, and they'll help you out. Another bit of research I did during the week is Paul and MPE have been sponsors of the Central Queensland Motocross Series, the Sunshine State Motocross Series, and the Queensland Motocross Series for years now. So the guy puts back into the sport, so we should support the sponsors that are supporting the sport. And I mentioned the Moto Limited Show up there, and they will definitely try and help you out with any purchase. And Pro Powder Powder Coating, propowder.com.au, protecting your investment. Adam and the team there at Pro Powder, it's a family-owned and operated business with 10 years' experience in the protective coating industry. They specialise in mining, energy, agricultural, automotive, and engineering industry sectors. Their point of difference is they focus on your investment and protecting it for years to come. So again, Adam's been a big supporter of drag racing, speedway, motocross, and much more. So if you're in the need for anything to be powder coated, you want something to be protected with the highest quality powder coating there is, go and see Adam and the team at Pro Powder Powder Coating. And again, mention the Moto Limited Show there, and they will be more than happy to help you out. So as I said, guys, show 19, big show tonight. We've got a lot of cool guests coming on. We've got the Motorcycling Australia CEO, Peter Doyle, who'll be coming up here very shortly on the show, which is awesome for us. Big announcement during the week is that the motocross schedule has been announced for 2020 here in Australia, 2021 here in Australia. So we're going to break that down with him and more. And we'll also then get one of our friend of the show, Caleb Barham, on just to talk about it from his side of things and what he's doing in this off-season as well. But joining me here, part of the show, he's back again. He's getting his new title of director. It's Nick Still, mate. What is going on?
Mate, that is probably the best intro I've ever heard. This seat's starting to get a bit comfy and I'm starting to enjoy it, so it's good to be back for another week.
You're back, mate. As I said, you were in charge of this live stream stuff. We've had teething issues.
Going really well, just so you know.
We're going to record it. It's going to be posted afterwards, but as I said, a massive shout out to you, and it's your new title, I think, director of the show.
I can work with that. I like it.
Love it. And joining us also in studio here, if you can see on the live stream, the video recording, but it's a very special guest to me. It's my old man, the National Sales Manager of Link International. It's Darren Marr. Hey, mate, how are you?
Good, thanks. It's good to be here. I've listened to all of the shows so far, and I think you're doing a great job. So, yeah, happy to be here.
Thanks. So I gave you a call up during the week, and I said I wanted to we've had some industry dudes from America on, and you're the bit biased, best in the business when it comes to this side of things. But you are obviously the national sales manager of the biggest wholesaler we have in Australia here, of Link International. So let's start a little bit with that before we get through to Peter. But just sort of go through what your job entails at Link and how things are going at the moment.
Well, Link International's been in business for 40 odd years. we actually import all of the products into Australia. So we do some popular brands like Motul, Polysport, RK, AGV, States MX, and many others. So all of that's imported in through our business at Yatla and distributed Australia-wide through not only our sales rep team, but our agents in Victoria, South Australia, WA and Tasmania. So my job entails overseeing most of the sales side of Link International, and I've got a team of 8 sales reps that do Northern Territory, Queensland and New South Wales that I look after day to day. So that's basically my role, and as well as a few other operational parts of Link International.
Awesome. So obviously COVID's been the big thing that we've dealt with this year, and we spoke to the guys in America about it, and they've been flat out trying to get sort of product in, and that's a way bigger market than what we're dealing with here in Australia. But what's it been like for you guys, obviously the impacts from it so far?
Well, stock's become a bit of an issue now. We're probably lucky at Link that we're allowed to keep probably a lot more stock than most other wholesalers. So we're just starting to have a few little stock outs now, but we've got containers coming in. But in saying that too, we've had unprecedented sales in the last 6 months that we as a company have never seen before. So.
Well, that's probably industry wide. I mean, everyone's dealing with the same thing.
What's more popular? Is it the road stuff? Is it the moto stuff? Is it what seems to be or is it just all around everything's just popular?
Well, for us, we were predominantly road focused. So for us, our Pirelli road tyre sales are massive, but it seems to have gone full circle. I think that now the off-road has started to take over the road side of things, and I think that's with more people staying at home. And
yep, that's a good thing to see. Like,
yeah,
I never thought I'd probably hear that, but is it the same? Is every state around the country the same, or are some states booming with sales and others are just doing the same thing, or is it pretty much just busy the whole way around?
Nearly every state. I mean, obviously Victoria with their shutdown, they were in lockdown for a fair few weeks. But our agent in Victoria, he also manages South Australia.
Oh,
and
yes.
South Australia was booming. But then the regional areas of Victoria was booming as well, because basically in Victoria it was just the Melbourne city centre that was closed down.
Exactly,
so
yeah.
Everybody else was still living life as normal, and their biggest issue then was getting product.
Yep,
So.
and then like everything you get from over in the States, not getting delayed, anything with the issues like with the docks and everything like that?
Well, we only have a few products that come out of America. The majority of our products come out of Europe.
Yep.
So, like
Even
Pirelli.
worse.
Even worse.
Well, it is. So for instance, Motul comes out of France.
Yeah.
So France was closed for 2 months.
Yeah.
So they basically had no production. So that was a bit of a hold-up. But then once they got back into the swing of production again, the biggest issue now is when there was no freight being moved, a lot of freight companies closed down.
Yep.
But then a lot of boats stopped running as well. So now it's taking us sometimes in transshipping from, let's say, Italy to Singapore. Some of our containers can sit in Singapore for a month waiting for a boat to link up to come to Australia.
Okay, so you're starting to actually see the gap of when everything closed down.
Yeah.
Because that's sort of what everyone sort of said was, yeah, okay, we've got closures all around the world. You guys have got factories that are full of stock. It's not going to be till months after that we sort of feel the burden of what actually happened. So you guys are starting to feel that now?
Yeah, I mean, we've got a lot of containers landing, so we shouldn't be too bad compared to a lot of wholesalers. But at the moment we're still going okay. And what you got to remember too is, we normally keep 7 to 8 months worth of stock. We're selling that stock holding now in maybe 2 or 3 months.
Yeah.
So not only we're not getting stock, we're selling triple what we were before.
Keeping the boys busy.
So it does. We've got a really good team there, and like all places, when COVID hit, everybody tightened the belts, and we lost a few staff. So there's multiple people in the business now doing several different roles just to keep everything going. So we're pretty lucky that we've got a really good team there and a really good manager and some really good owners.
So I was asking like Justin Jennings about this. How do you predict like the foresee future? Like, is it? Can you see it staying at this sort of rate, or is it going to drop off again? Or
Well, we talk about this at every sales meeting.
That is everyone's question.
So, we all have that crystal ball that we keep polishing all the time, hoping that it tells us the right thing. But all you can really do at the moment is work off your last 5 months sales,
Yep.
and then average it over the last 12, and try and come up with something in between.
Yep.
So you've also got to be aware that if this does stop, that you got all this stock coming. So look, in my honest opinion, I don't think it will. I think we'll taper back to where we were. But in saying that, I think what's happened now has given the motorcycle industry the greatest shot in the arm that it's needed for a long
Yeah,
time.
exactly. And like, if there's one thing we can take out of it, if that's a win for us, then that is a solid win.
Oh,
Yeah.
definitely. We've got sales reps now that shops before, you're pleading with them, bargaining with them, trying to get them to put stock in. They're now asking our sales reps, what else can I buy off you?
Yeah.
So that's the difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where we've seen that from, and heard that as well. Like it's no different from America to here. We're just a smaller industry as opposed to what they're dealing with over there. But I mean, the power sports industry worldwide, I think, has copped that shot in the arm that it's needed. And the biggest thing that we've talked about on this show, and with Peter Doyle coming up here in 5 minutes or so, is that we need to make sure that they stay in the sport too. Like
Yeah,
we can't just get all this influx and then them all just peter out and go away. Like we gotta create something sustainable. So hopefully that's starting with this.
Absolutely. And like, with the situation we've got, I hope they grab it with both hands and run with it. So.
Yeah, well, that's for sure. All right, Dad, what about best-selling product at Link that people wouldn't realise would be the biggest seller?
Well, Pirelli is our biggest brand,
Yeah.
obviously, and Motul is our second biggest brand.
Yeah.
We've had AGV for 3 years now, and that's now become our third biggest brand, and then RK is the next brand behind that. So, but in saying that, Link International was built on the Motul name and RK, so they're still our core products.
Yeah.
And obviously the apparel division only started 3 or 4 years ago,
Yeah.
and it's all new for us. But Link decided to diversify a little bit, and a lot of our other competitors had the hard parts range and the apparel range, and we decided 3 or 4 years ago to do that, and it was probably the right timing.
Yeah.
Now, for most of our account holders, Link is a one-stop shop, which is great. People only have one account that they can buy everything with, all their products at the one spot. So yeah.
And your biggest retailer would have to be MX Store. They seem to be killing it when it comes to the industry at the moment, and with how easy and accessible things are online. And then obviously we couldn't go anywhere. A lot of states can't go anywhere. Like, they'd have to be your biggest account at the moment.
Yeah, they are. I think too, with MX Store's model that they built, is they have a really great online ordering system, and I have spoken to people that could probably buy products anywhere, but they can go home overnight, any time of the night, order what they want, the description's there, and it arrives in a day or two. So I think they've built a great model. And in saying that too, we have a lot of other online stores that also we have just purely helmet stores that are really big accounts for us. But we mustn't forget either, we've got a lot of little workshops. We have a lot of motorcycle dealerships that have dealt with us for a long time. So.
And that'd be the part that people sort of don't understand, or they see the companies that have the gear and have the helmets and have all the stuff. If everything goes online, they're going to be the ones that suffer the most of the shops that just have that. It's the workshops and those ones. We're always going to need to take our bike somewhere to get serviced, and the products that you guys have is that. You got oils, tires, chains, all that stuff that needs. You can't go away from that. So having that in the back pocket is definitely going to help when people will start buying more and more stuff. As much as I don't want to say that, but overseas, buying it direct out of overseas, because it's could be cheaper and easier. MX Stores keeping it local, which is why we want to keep them around. But there was a while ago where obviously BTL and things like that in America were selling it for nearly what you could buy it here in Australia, so people were just buying it out of the US. But for you guys having those brands that still those little workshops, and we've had Kerrod Morrissey on here, and they have one of probably the better still family owned and operated organisations. And Nick, your old boy still works there, doesn't he?
Yeah, it's 16 years. My whole life.
So like all those, we want to keep them ones around.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
But at the same time, you got the big e-tailers, but we also got those big retail shops that are not really given a great name, and we've had that debate on here multiple times, so we don't want to go too deep into that one. But no, we appreciate you coming in. We'll go through some more questions here with you later on. We'll get on to Peter Doyle here. He's given us his time. We're going to call him up from Melbourne and get him on the show here and have a bit of a chat about the upcoming nationals that we've got that have been announced on Friday.
Hello.
Hey, Peter. It's Trent from the Moto Limited show here, mate. How are you?
Good, Trent. What's happening?
Mate, welcome to the show. We're just got a couple of guys in studio here with me. I have Nick Still and my old man Darren Maher in studio as well.
How are we all?
Hey, mate. Very
G'day.
good.
Hey, Peter. How are you?
Good, mate.
That's the way. Hey, thanks for giving us your time, Peter. We really do appreciate it. Obviously, the big announcement coming out of Friday was the schedule drop for the 2021 Pro MX schedule. How did that feel, actually seeing that come to reality and be live and people actually see that?
Bit of a relief after everything that's gone on this year.
Yeah.
We've the one thing the crew have become fairly good at is putting calendars together. I think we've done about 15 for every discipline this year, so we kept changing them. So, no, a bit of a relief to finally get it out. There was a really good, a lot of interest from clubs. I think we had 30 odd applications from individual clubs across the country that wanted to host it.
Yep.
So it was a bit of a tough gig, narrowing it down to what we thought might be best suited for really the first year for the new series.
Yeah, for sure. So we got 8 rounds, 7 tracks.
Yep.
We've got a good array. 2 in Victoria, 1 in Canberra, 1 in South Australia, 1 in New South Wales, and 2 in Queensland. But that'll be 3 rounds total. And a bit of an array of different tracks as well. So did you guys, when you were planning this out, did you try and get a different styles of tracks so we have a more well-rounded champion at the end of 21?
Yeah, look, we try and vary all the tracks, from hard sand, as well as the geographics of it all.
Yeah.
So it's important to try and spread it out. Unfortunately, Australia's a huge country with limited population compared to Europe or the US.
Yeah.
So we tried to spread it out, different tracks, different areas, as much as we could, with only 7 locations.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, obviously, there's, people follow social media and obviously seen, you guys have copped a bit of flack for no WA and no Northern Territory, and we had a chat at the end of last week, or start of last week, should I say, and I said to you, I'm like, how about we all just be thankful we have a motocross series? We've sat out 2020. We've had no racing at a national level. Like, this is a great start for you guys for your first year, and B, for what we've been through here in 2020.
Yeah, look, we're pretty happy with where we're at the moment. And look, you're always, it doesn't matter what sport you're in.
Yep.
You're always going to upset everybody or not please everybody.
Yep.
We've got 8 states and territories, but there's a number of things happening also in other disciplines that are yet to be announced.
Yep.
We've got ARRC and we have the ASBK series. We've got Aussie Juniors will obviously going to the Northern Territory in 2022.
Yep.
That was pushed back a year because of COVID.
Yep.
And we have some news coming up for WA and possibly for Tasmania in other disciplines.
Yeah, perfect. All right, well, the biggest question, for us is obviously 2020 was meant to be the last year of WEM running the MX Nationals, and you guys were to take over in 21. I mean, everyone's thinking the same thing, is what's new for 21 under an MA run series? What are a couple of the big key facts that we should be looking for?
Look, we're always going to be a bit different to what possibly a private promoter's going to look like.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's, motocross is not supercross, so you're not indoor stadium. So
Yeah.
we're hopeful of engaging more with the clubs, the industry, a little bit like we've done with the ASBK series, and try and increase the fan side of it,
Yep.
engagement. We're also looking at what we can do in the media platform space.
Yep.
Now, a lot of that's going to depend on what sort of support we get from industry itself. But so far, there's a lot of interest there in the series from industry point, and we're hopeful of being able to announce probably early in the new year what our media platform might look like. Will that include television? Will that include a pre-recorded show? Will that include live streaming?
Yep.
So a lot of that's still to play out.
Yep.
But now we've got the calendar out. Everybody's focus is now on those events and what sort of media platform we can bring to Motocross Championship.
Yeah, what it's going to look like. What about in terms of obviously racing and how the races are going to look, different things like that? Like what are we going to expect at these events if we're there's riders listening and or fans? Like what are we going to be watching in 21?
So obviously MX3 is, the MXD class has now been rejigged to look like to MX3. Now that'll incorporate a few of the younger guys, which have that ability now to come in and show their stuff rather than wait until they're 16 years old. So that's the first one. We're also looking at qualifying formats.
Mm-hmm.
You're probably going to see something different there.
Yep.
And I would say right now, while it's not set, you will have some different racing formats appear.
Okay.
Possibly along the line of some back-to-back sprint races.
Mm-hmm.
So we're having a look at how that might fit, but it's got to fit in with any TV package that we do.
Yes.
That's the unfortunate part about going to TV is you have to sort of start moulding your show to fit your TV programming.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Well, I mean, going back to that MX3 class, I mean, I think that's a brilliant idea. Like, it's something that, obviously Europe are doing at the moment with their, EMX class over there. And, it only goes to show when you look at sort of the Lawrence brothers, especially Jet, who sort of went into that. And you've got, the young Everts boy over there now who's starting to really make a name for himself. Like, just giving them a couple of years on the national tracks with the national bumps and all the riders and all the teams there, they can really strut their stuff. I think it's a brilliant idea. Yeah,
and look, that's and it's the same in all disciplines of the sport. You have a look at MotoGP or Grand Prix, MXGP. These guys don't arrive in there at 16 years old winning Grand Prix in their first race. They're already riding those bikes against good competition on good tracks a couple of years before that. Yeah. So that's our aim, is to be able to, we can't make riders world champions. What we've got to be able to do is give them the pathway and try and create that opportunity for them to improve.
Yeah.
So that's what we're hopeful of doing.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's something that, as I said, it's a great idea, and hopefully it works out. And the biggest thing is too, is it 14 years of age they can enter in that class, but it doesn't rule them out if they want to do the junior Aussie titles. So it's a win-win for for some of these young guys that wanting to make a career out of it, getting to it. To these races. Now, the one question I had with that is how many events are MX3 classes going to be in? The whole lot, just selected, or?
It's likely to be, and I'll go back to venues here.
Yep.
But it's likely to be a minimum of 6 or all of the venues.
Okay. And other classes available? Like I've seen there was some women's class in that as well.
Yeah, and that's what we're judging. So MX1 and 2 will do every round.
Yep.
I envisage MX3 will be 6 or 7.
Yep.
And we're now looking at the women's, and we've got the vets class of where we best place them.
Yeah.
Now, typically the vets sides only ever run as a one-off. You know, these guys are out there more having fun rather than wanting to travel around the country.
Yes.
And we're hopeful of having the women at a couple of rounds, certainly at the last round.
Yep.
And we're working in now with the women's committee that we've got of what other rounds might be feasible to try and it's one of our aims is to try and strengthen that championship.
Yeah, perfect.
So, Peter, it's Nick. So, just so you don't get confused on who you're talking to, that's all. But going back to like the rounds and the locations, what are some of the factors that were carried in for the tracks in those specific rounds? Like, why them places?
Look, you sort of got to look at there's geographics as well. So it's a fine balance between racing at, let's say, Broadford, which is 40 minutes from Melbourne to an hour,
yep,
or racing at Swan Hill.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you've also got to take into account the bike market. What bike sales are like, the possibility of spectators. But once again, the media side is something that also has to be considered.
Yep.
So you've got that operational side of the races. So if you hold an event in the middle of nowhere, it's going to cost you double.
Yeah.
By the time you get everybody there, TV. Whereas if you're holding races near capital cities or large centres, you don't have to fly cameramen in, for example. You can get them locally.
Yep.
So there's a lot goes into it. Also, a bit of a change up of a few of the tracks. Try and bring some new tracks in. One of our core jobs is to try and, as a federated sports structure, is that we're going to try and help the clubs a little bit too.
Mm-hmm.
So we've sort of got to try and share that around. There's so many factors in building a calendar, and then also take into consideration other sports that might be even in motorsport that you've got to juggle in to fit in. You don't want to be racing in at Broadford really the weekend of Formula One.
Exactly.
So,
yeah. So, God forbid we're sort of faced with this issue again, but it is a real thing. Is there a COVID plan in the works, or say if we do have states that close down, are there going to be backup venues and dates, or what are we looking at there?
Yeah, we will look at that, and look, that's been one of the biggest factors this year. So we have, I'm not sure whether you're aware, but we were able to. Well, I'll rephrase that. At this stage, we are able to probably get up the final 2 rounds of the Australian Superbike Championship.
Yep.
Which will actually be a good segue into next year. So all the COVID plans have been developed around that event, which is at Goulburn in first week of December.
Mm-hmm.
So all the COVID plans will be able to test a lot of that there. So much of that is already built and in place, and it'll matter of adapting it to the venue that you run. Now that's another factor in building calendars. I mean, this COVID world that we live in, you can only build your calendar on what you know today or at the time you're building it.
Mm.
And, we've seen this year, just with the South Australian outbreak recently, how quickly some states are trigger happy to close their border.
Shut it down, yeah.
We had people, we knew there was people on aeroplanes between some capital cities, and they arrived at the other end and were told they had to go into quarantine. When they left, everything was fine. Yeah. So yeah, look, it's a bit of fly by wire there because we get another outbreak somewhere. Very clearly, you're going to see some of these states just shutting down.
Absolutely, 30 days from now, we could be living in a completely different world. So
correct, and look, add anything international to any event you're running, and whether that be, the New Zealanders, any Europeans or Americans, or people from here wanting to go overseas.
Yep.
And it's just extra complicated.
Yep.
Yeah. Do we have backup tracks for if things do change? Like, let's say, South Australia goes into lockdown again in, start of April and we can't get there. Do you have a track that could replace Gilman at a short notice? So we got all that plan as well?
Absolutely.
Yep.
There's a number of tracks out there that would be quite open and easily accessible if we needed to juggle that.
Yep. Perfect.
So round 6 obviously is still to be announced. Is there a a bit of an insight of where we look like we could be racing at round 6 yet?
Yeah, so round 6 will be announced tomorrow. Along,
We're 24 hours too early.
Can we get
No
a sneaky heat? Or
there's
This won't come
well,
out
one of the
tomorrow.
things. Well, one of the things we're going to work on, guys, in the future is over the next couple of years. Now that essentially ALRC, ASBK, and MX are all in house.
Yep.
So essentially, we're better able to control our own destiny and in that sense. So what we're trying to look for over the next couple of years, and you may have seen a subtle hint today if you heard the announcement for the opening round of the Australian Superbike Championship is being combined with the Shannon's Nationals S5000 TCR car with CAMS or with Motorsport Australia.
Yep.
So we're having a look at the possibility of some, let's call them joint disciplined events.
Okay. Well, that could narrow it down for us a little bit then, I guess. There's a few venues like that here in Queensland that we could be going to.
QMP.
Yeah, and look, you're having a look at things like combined car bike, combined motocross road race, combined ALRC and road race. So there's a lot of combinations out there, and we're looking at a couple of these events, maybe not just so much for next year, but we are starting down that path. But we're also looking already into 2022.
Yeah.
So as soon as we got this calendar out, we're looking at let's start our focus towards tidying up, getting our partners locked away, getting our platform, but we're also working on 2022. It starts now.
Yeah.
Hi, Peter. It's Darren Marr here. Obviously, I'm sales manager for Link, and Link has had been a long time supporter of Motorcycle in Australia with the ASBK series and also with the MX National. So, has there been a serious push from within MA this time? From an outsider looking in, it always seemed to us that the Australian Superbike Series got most of the funding and the off-road sort of got a little bit left out in the dark to do their own thing. Has there been a serious push this year to try and even up the scales on all the disciplines?
Yeah, look, there is, and there's, we don't, with the commercial rights arrangement that they were previously under, we essentially had very little influence in any discipline that was the commercial rights were owned by a private promoter. Essentially, we become the sanctioning body and the governing body with the rules and the regulations, but as far as the events go, zero input. The Superbike Championship was brought back in-house about 5 years ago now, when it basically fell apart. So we had a core focus on rebuilding that program. And, look, while motocross wasn't in the state that the Superbike Series was, other than COVID, it's a fresh start, and, we need to put as much effort into motocross as we do to the road racing. So,
definitely.
And, the ALRC's a subtly different animal in the sense that it's not a huge spectator sport in the sense that you're taking it out into these really remote areas. Obviously cheaper to run, much more competitor involvement and competitor supported, but you're not, you don't have to worry really about spectators and, masses of spectators and toilets and, all that infrastructure that you've got to have around catering for spectators that you do at, say, a motocross event.
For sure.
So they're slightly different animals, but, motocross is a huge discipline, and this is probably, I can't remember back to history. I was actually on the other side of the fence, so I don't know that MA have ever run the motocross championship before. So it's a fresh start.
No.
I think you're right. I think also you're talking about looking to the industry for support again. How will that differ this year to past years for people like the supporters that have been there for all those years? How will it look different for 2021 under the MA for the industry side of things?
Look, from the industry side, sponsorship partnerships have all changed in the last 10 years. Whilst many of them are still based on personal relationships, let's say, the other ones are the other side of it, where industry was just like, we'll put X amount here and X amount there. It wasn't really measured that much. Nowadays, these companies have got to measure that return. So, we've got to be able to provide that media platform or that reach or that engagement to be able to give them the return on investment, and that's what we'll have to focus on.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, that brings us to the media side of things being brought up here a little bit, and as I said, you've given us your time here tonight to come on and explain a little bit to us. We're a small show here that are just trying to do our part in getting the help rebuild the sport. At the end of the day, we've sat in here and had conversations about what if we had a crystal ball or magic wand, what we would fix and that sort of stuff. So you guys have brought up you've brought up a lot of good facts of what you guys are doing. My biggest question is I've been a privateer, I've never been on a team, never had that support. My biggest issue with the previously run nationals was the I wouldn't say the treatment, but just you felt like a second class citizen when you went to these events, and at the end of the day, we're the ones that are forking out, to get there and filling the gates. Is there anything that you guys are trying to work on to help promote more riders to come, spend their money, fill the gates, so we have, 40 riders on a grid, rather than, 15 factory bikes, 5 odd privateers that, just follow the scene?
Yeah, look, that's something that that won't be turned around overnight.
Yes.
Looking at the history, I've been around the sport quite a long time, and things just don't take a dramatic turn overnight, down or up.
Yeah.
So it's something that we're going to have to build.
Yes.
You look at the economy. We're coming out of post-COVID. Whilst the motorcycle industry may have had a fantastic year in bike sales in general and product sales, I'm sure that they're sitting there going, this bubble's got to burst sometime.
Yes.
So it's not like they're going to go splash out a bunch of money next year. So look, it's going to be a slow build. We got to re-engage with all the members.
Yes.
We need to have good relations with them. We'll be bringing back round prize money. We'll be coming back for next year. And then we've got to start looking at ideas of how to slowly get everybody back that they want to come and do a 7 or 8 round championship and be part of that family.
That's right. That's it.
And that's the next target. There's so many opinions about the 450 class. I think 250 sales, MX3, you're hopeful that MX3 and MX2 will remain relatively strong, but 450s bring about its own issues. I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah.
How many guys can ride those things to their full potential and still have fun on them?
Yeah. That is correct. But I mean, at the same time too is, we're big followers of the US scene as well. And, to be competitive on the smaller bike in Australia, there's not such a big gap, but those little bikes need a fair bit of work to be as competitive as these, top team ones. So that's where a lot of these guys will just go tame down a 450 and at least be able to be at least competitive off the start, run around with the guys and do that sort of stuff. Like, I'm with you where there's not too many people that can do that, but I mean, it's a cheaper way for them to get into the sport too, and it's hard. It is hard work, and I've been a 450 guy, and I know it's hard for 30 minutes to wrestle that thing. But
I agree with you. I think if you wanted to have half a serious run against and make a name for yourself, and you were a good rider, you could ride a 450. You would get a 450 and go into the 450 class.
Yeah, 100%.
Because that's where you're going to stand out with a good result. Now, the 250 class, as you know, they're they're quite expensive to run and maintain. Yeah, look, it's each to their own.
Yeah.
Personally, I think like back in the days of the old 500s when there were more 500s than anything else, and they were fun to ride as well.
Yeah,
but I'm hopeful that that's a 2 or 3 year plan to try and get the grids back.
Yep. Well,
motocross sales, unfortunately, we're 25 million people here versus 325 in the US.
Yeah.
And so we're always going to be behind the 8 ball, but per head of capita we bat pretty well.
Yeah.
So we've just got to give them avenues and encourage them and give them something at the other end to feel like they're part of it.
That's right, and I mean just you saying that in itself is giving me confidence, because that was my biggest gripe with the whole thing. Like, I know that we don't have the size of sport, we don't have the money in the sport that they do overseas. So I've never been about, hey, we need to get more money into these things. It's more about what you get when you go there, like making you feel like you're part of the show rather than, oh, you've just paid money to be here. This is the show over here. You just stand over to the side and then just come into the gate when it's your turn, So if you guys are really honestly trying to build that, I think that's where you're going to see more interaction from those privateer riders. Is they're going to be like, well, yeah, we're not going to get a heap more money, but we've been doing it anyway with no money. But at least now we feel like we're part of the show, and that's at the end of the day, that's all we really want. And a lot of these guys have their own backing, financial backing, and all the people that are backing them just want to see their logo on in a pit area, while with fans walking past it. Like, it's not too much that some of these guys will fork money over for, but when you're not in the pit area where all the trucks are and all the things are, you're off to the side. No one's going to see it. And then the people go, well, I'll go give my money to the team then, because at least they'll get seen. And that's where we start losing more and more of these riders. That's always been my gripe. I never have once said, let's put more money into the sport, because we just all know there's not that much money in the sport.
No, correct. And that's, it's a really it's a tough thing. It's a lot easier for example, AORC, where you're setting up in a paddock, and everybody's equal.
Yes.
Or the pit lane at a road race track where there's 50 garages on pit lane. Yep. So pretty much you can put 100 riders on pit lane, and everybody feels like they're part of it.
That's right. Yep.
And so there's small things like that you're well aware of.
Yeah.
Sometimes at some of the motocross tracks, it's probably a bit more difficult.
Yes.
But obviously we've got to do the best to everybody's there, everybody's paying to ride.
Yep.
Everybody deserves to feel like they should be part of it.
Be equal. Perfect. All right, we've got a couple more here for you, Peter, before we let you go. The one question I've got is obviously at these events, who's doing all the live announcing? has that been spoken about yet?
No, it's been spoken about.
Yep.
And again, that will form part of whatever media platform we come out with.
Okay. All right. That makes sense. That'll narrow it down for me to who would do that. Because
if we're going to the racetrack and essentially we're just going to another day at the motocross track.
Yep.
And you're not going to see it on television or live streaming.
Yep.
Then you need to have some pretty engaged and competent commentators at the racetrack.
That's right.
Whereas if you're doing live streaming or you're doing a TV program, they're already going to be there doing part of that.
Yeah.
And possibly with some local engagement or content from the venues that we go to or the states that we go to.
Yeah, perfect. No, that's. I mean, I'm going to.
You want a job, mate? You're a guest commentator.
I am.
I thought you're going to ride.
No, I'm well past riding, mate. That's why we sit in here in the studio and talk behind a microphone. And my racing career is done, but I'm getting into the live announcing. So, mate, if there's a job going, I'm going to put it to you now that I'll throw my hand up. I'm going to be at all the races anyway as part of this whole deal. So, may as well do a job while I'm there. Hey.
No. Well, we know where you are now.
Yeah, that's perfect. One more I got for you, and I'll see if the other guys have got anything else. But Todd Waters obviously was a 2019 champ. He had a number one plate. Obviously, no nationals in 20. Didn't get to defend it. Does he defend his title in 21?
Yeah, well, that's one thing I will, whilst it's not out there, I will confirm with you that
Yep.
the 2019 champions will be able to carry the number one plate into 21.
Perfect. That was always, that's been one burning question I've had when once it got announced. You know, I've known Todd since I was 12 years old, and you know, and I was just thought, man, I've seen how hard that he has worked to get that number one, and I felt like it, you know, it would be you know, not very fair that he doesn't get to defend it when it was kind of out of his control, you know, like if he'd went somewhere else or raced somewhere else, fair call, but man, he'd been running it all year at state level events, like he wanted to run that, so I'm pumped that he, you know, he gets to defend that. Wilson Todd obviously won the MX2 and he's in Europe, so that was kind of irrelevant, but definitely for Todd to have that.
No, you know, we may look at it differently, but you know, you arrive at the same answer.
Yeah.
What is the benefit to not letting him run it?
That's right, and that's
there isn't one.
Yeah, and that's what I thought. I'm like, there's no, you know, like, yeah, honestly, if someone kicks up a stink about it, like, you know, Todd's one of the most likable guys in the pits. He bends over backwards to do anything for anyone. You know, he's that type of guy, and he interacts with his fans very well. And I'm like, I can't see why, you know, what benefit it would be to not let him, you know, defend that. And at the end of the day, 2020 is just an asterisk. An asterisk. You know, there's nothing to it for, you know, especially for us in Australia.
Yeah, and look, there's a you know, where I guess the only thing you can say is that, you know, everybody shouldn't feel isolated in that sense. They're not Robinson Crusoe. There was that many sporting events. I mean, you got to see that little bit of AFL and a little bit of the NRL, and there's bits and pieces that happened. Yeah. But honestly, there wouldn't have, probably 5% of sports got up championships in 2021.
Yeah.
I mean, there wasn't much happening. A lot of it was just cancelled. We were on sporting hookups with 60 to 70 other sports weekly there for a while. Mm. And they were, you know, some of them are in disarray. Some of them won't come out the other side. Yep. Some of them will go into receivership. So many sporting championships got called off. And you look at community, I drive around Melbourne, and all the football grounds and cricket grounds, which are normally, you know, used 2 or 3 times a week for training and practice, and then on the weekend, all just empty.
Yep. Yeah, no, 100%. You know, the 2020 has been one of those years where we've just, you know, it's a bit of a shit show, and you know, it's good to see that things are happening for 21.
So, was there ever a plan to, once the pandemic sort of hit, to actually race this year, or when was it that it was decided that we were going to scrap 2020 and just move on to next year?
Look, we wanted to give it every opportunity. So, for example, AORC, it commenced, and a lot of this has got to do, and one factor that people sort of don't realise, the championships that started, that already had some or a lot of commercial partnerships in play, had to have a priority to try and get those up.
Yep.
AORC, in the end, the final rounds were just, even today, would have still been unable to happen.
Yeah.
You know, as we sit here today, you couldn't run one in South Australia and you couldn't run one in Victoria.
Yeah.
So there was just no option for AORC.
No.
Motocross never actually got started.
Yeah.
And we probably, I can't remember the exact date it was called, but we got to a point where we said, righto, can we get 3 rounds in over a 7-week period?
Yeah.
Right? And that was the call. If we can get that in, we'll run it, and let's just play it out, but we need to give 6 weeks notice.
Yeah.
So we would be able to tell everybody, right, there's 3 rounds in 6 weeks, you've got 6 weeks notice, and if we could have got that up, we would have.
Do we have... sorry, mate. Do we have
Queensland... sorry.
You're right, you go. Sorry.
Yeah, in the end, Queensland state border was the major issue there. There's a lot of competitors from Queensland.
Yeah.
and people going to Queensland and Queenslanders coming back out it just wasn't going to be feasible.
Yeah. Do we have a rule in the book at all which says we have to run, say, a certain amount of rounds for it to be considered a season? So,
Nope.
like, I know, like, with America, they were 6, so we don't follow a rule, anything like that?
Nope. And look, this is one of the problems. It's a good question because this is a problem you have, and I won't say it's isolated to Australia, but one of the things that I see in sport here is that we are a member-based federated sporting organisation, which is quite common in Australia.
Yep.
And we cater for amateur sport to professional sport.
Yep.
And you are never able to write a set of rules or create a rule book that you're going to appease everybody. So you're creating one that actually pisses off about 80% of the people. So one area that we've been focusing on in, let's say, the ASBK series is we've actually been developing an ASBK rule book over the last 2 seasons.
Yeah.
So we've been developing that so that if we looked a couple of years down the track and we're able to get that rule book where we're all happy with it, then it's possible we could pull out the rules that strangle club racing out of the rule book.
Yep.
Right? But they're required for the professional level racing.
Yeah.
And we could also remove the rules that are developed for club racing that strangle professional racing and hold it back.
Yeah.
Right, a little bit, and it's no different to what happens in the US.
Yeah.
I mean, you jump on and find the AMA amateur rulebook, it's called,
Yeah.
and that's all your club racing up to state level racing.
Yeah.
And then your outdoors has got its own rulebook.
Yeah. Pro. Yeah.
Right, so that's something that we see we need to go. Unfortunately, believe it or not, that we're not actually totally in control of that destiny. The riders and the members are.
Yeah.
Because as a member-based organisation, the riders vote their club delegates on.
Yeah.
Their club delegates vote for their state delegates.
Yeah.
Right? All the peoples on our committees and commissions that make rules are all members just like you and I.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you've got all these layers that you've got to get through, which just, it's like our political system.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you've got to have some people there that are able to have enough smarts and the drive to push things through.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. All right, Peter. Well, we've taken up. Hang on. You got one more there, Darren?
Yeah, Peter, I'd just like to congratulate you on taking over the series and given the Australian motorcycling public something to look forward to for 2021. And I'd also like to call out to a lot of those other wholesalers out there that are having boom times now to get in and support this series to make get the industry where it was and where it needs to be again and support this grassroots racing. So.
Yeah, thanks, Darren. And look, that's it's like anything. You can have a look at all the sports. Unless everybody gets on board and drives in one direction, all you end up doing is tearing each other apart.
Yeah.
So you may not like the direction, but in the end, it's like when you spoke about the number one plate.
Yeah.
Whilst that is a small thing and an easy decision,
Yeah.
everything you do in the end, you've got to make a balanced decision on, is it actually any good for the sport?
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm 100%. I mean, the last thing I wanted to touch on you before we let you go is obviously, the Pro MX name and logo and stuff like that. Like, you guys have copped a lot on social media over that from other, media outlets and industry sources. And, it's one of those things is like, why are we doing that to the sport? Like, we all should be on the same page trying to move forward. If you don't agree with it, that's fine. Try and talk to somebody that can make that decision. Don't just put it on blast and, try and bring negativity to the sport, when we're trying to all rebuild it and try and get, and we're all, living off the industry at some point. Some of us are,
Yep.
I just don't see the sense in it. And obviously you guys have, would have seen a lot of that stuff. I give you this little opportunity to obviously, your response to that sort of stuff.
Look, if people are have got nothing better to write about than a logo, then they really obviously don't have much to do.
Yeah. Yep.
But look, it's the same as anything. You don't have to like, the paint scheme of some team's new bike. Is there any reason, because you personally don't like the paint scheme, that you want to go and throw it out there in the media and say, geez, that looks like crap?
Yes. And that's...
There's no benefit.
No.
There's no benefit to the sport in doing that. So, look, ultimately, all of us, and as I said again, anybody who's a member, got an MA licence, or is a member of a club,
Yep.
they're all part of the same organisation.
Yes.
And they all have the same opportunity to stand up and put something back into the sport.
Yep.
The ones that pitch from the sideline, well, I mean, if they've got nothing better to do, they should really, they could go bowl, go do bowling.
Yeah,
hairdresser.
That's right. That's right. All right, Peter. Well, I appreciate you coming on the show, giving us that insight. I mean, I'd love to have you back on here once we sort of get rolling into 2021 and sort of, get your opinion on how the series is going once it is up and running and stuff like that. But look, I really do appreciate the time.
No, anytime, guys.
No worries. Well, we'll leave you to it, and we'll speak soon.
Cheers.
Thanks.
See you all.
Thanks,
Bye.
Peter.
Thanks,
Thank you.
mate.
Peter Doyle, everyone, MA CEO. That was pretty insightful. I mean, he answered a lot of the questions we wanted, so that's a start.
I think it's in the right direction.
It sounds like it, and and I think the biggest thing is, as I said, I had a conversation with him, a personal conversation on him about getting him on this show, and some of the things I touched on, he's like, yeah, we've been talking about that. Like, they can, they're kind of, again, they are it is a member-based organisation. They probably are trying to listen to as many people as they can. Obviously, too many people, there's going to be that many different opinions that it's just going to become, hard to pick who you listen to. But it really sounds like they want to rebuild it. And I mean, I'm not a massive ASBK supporter. I know you've been to a few. Yeah. They're obviously doing a good job with that, and it's starting to really, be a big promoted event and, television and all that sort of stuff. I mean, if they can bring the same thing into motocross, it's going to be good for all of us.
Yeah, 100%. I think, too, from being a lot of those events, I'm glad that we heard him say that there's going to be some equality across the different disciplines now.
Yeah.
I think, which is going to be a big benefit to the off-road fraternity. I also think what he said about the AORC, there being a different sort of event.
Yeah.
You and I have actually seen how different that is and how much access there is to the riders and that, like Toby Price and that back in the day. We don't really get a lot of that at the motocross. So I'm hoping that he can just turn that around.
Yeah.
And that'd be a big plus for the fans out there, that's for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, as he said, it's not gonna happen overnight, Nick. No. It's something that is gonna take time, and as long as they've got plans in place, which sounds like, they're already looking at 21, they're trying to figure it out, and they're obviously hearing all this backlash from the media, which I've ranted, raved to you on the phone multiple times,
of course,
Nick.
yeah.
That
same as me.
It's not worth it. Like, let's all get on the same page here and try and build the sport. We all, if we have a podcast that's dedicated to motocross, what are we talking about? Motocross. Why are we putting motocross down? Like, we're gonna have no podcast if it goes away. Like,
exactly.
What are we doing, people? So, I mean, good chat there with Peter, and hopefully we can have him on in the future here and get some more insight. And
so your crystal ball, aka your brain.
Hey, have you borrowing our crystal ball?
Round 6.
Yeah.
Where is it?
I don't know. When he said it's a cross-promoted one, I mean, they don't do dirt track or anything like that, so it's got to be something near a car. Warwick is close to car racing. That would be cool, but I don't see Warwick getting a national. But you've got to think, when he said that, we need to think of the different disciplines that could go on. If it's an AORC and and a motocross event, which could happen, you could see it at places like QMP that have the facility there to run 2 events. I've heard people say Rockhampton, but you're not going to cross promote anything with Rockhampton. I don't think there's a car track or anything up there either. So it's just going to be interesting to see. But again, it doesn't sound like it has to be an MA run event that they're cross promoting with either. So, I mean, it could be anything. We should have given it to us. This isn't going to come live till tomorrow, but or today when you're listening to it now. But it'll be out, and we'll be able to talk about it for sure.
Somewhere tropical would be nice,
mate.
I might better work with.
Hey, good could be going to Townsville. They got a dirt track at Townsville.
Hey, I'm down.
There's heaps, man. There's so many different tracks that have different facilities. So it really didn't narrow it down for us.
Toowoomba would have been nicer.
Toowoomba.
I like sleeping in my bed.
Hey, well, let's just hope he takes my live announcer thing serious, because that'd be cool. Could be the voice of the Pro MX. All right, guys, let's move it on to our next guest. We're running a little bit behind, which is fine. But obviously, backing up, the announcement is I wanted to get one of the riders. I was trying to hope to get Todd or, one of those guys, especially Todd. I wanted to talk to him about this number one thing. I mean, it's not a huge thing, but to me, if it was me, I'd be like stressed that do I get to run this thing?
I'd already be running it.
Yeah, but we got one of the friend of the show here. We're going to get him on the phone here right now, Caleb Barham, and just have a chat to him about what he thinks about this new schedule.
Trent, what's happening?
Caleb, welcome to the show, mate. What is going on?
Oh, not too much. What are you guys up to?
Mate, we're just in studio here having a chat. I've got Nick Still and my dad in here with us tonight. So
Perfect. Going over the schedule.
Mate. We just had Peter Doyle on. He gave us a bit of a breakdown about how MA are running these events and things like that. So it would have been nice if you could have heard in and listened in on some of that. But obviously the schedule got announced and you've seen it. What do you think about it as a racer that's going to be, competing in this series in 21?
I definitely think 2021 is going to be a really step in the right direction for the motorcycle community, and it's something I'm really looking forward to. Being a professional rider, it's something that it's our job, and it's something we get to do every day of the week, fortunately, and it's going to be cool. They've got some pretty different tracks out there for next year on the calendar, and that a couple of them I haven't been to, and a couple of them I'm really excited to get to. We got a couple of the usuals back on there, Wonthaggi and Coolum and that, but it's going to be pretty entertaining to see how it all plays out. But hopefully COVID and all that sorts of stuff out, and we'll be ready to rock and roll next year.
Be good to go. So yeah, obviously we haven't actually broken down what the schedule is. It's round one is going to be in Wonthaggi in Victoria, the 11th of April. That's you've been there, haven't you, Caleb? You've been to Wonthaggi before, or?
Yeah, Wonthaggi. It's a bit like Coolum, a bit sandy. It's definitely the boys that live down in Vic have definitely got a pretty good home track advantage down there. It's a different track to say the least. But it's something that's got a gnarly first corner, and I like to get there first and try and get out of there. So.
Get out of there. That's for sure. Especially with your power to weight ratio, mate. You'll be good to go. Canberra is got the second round on the 2nd of May. I raced Canberra back in, was that 2007, 2006?
I remember 15.
Yeah, no, I was 14.
14.
You did a lot of the driving.
Yeah.
Hey, I did all the driving.
2006, mate, and it's they had a national there, I think 2011 maybe, something like that. It's a sort of a hard pack track. It's got a mixture of like red and white clay through it. Gets pretty rough and gnarly. Gilman, South Australia. You haven't been to Gilman before, have you, Caleb?
Well, actually, I've been to when we had Supercross there last year. We literally parked on the motocross track. So, no, I haven't rode the track as such, but I've seen plenty of footage from Westy and all that in the Aussies last year.
Yeah.
It looks like it's a nice loamy track and a bit like Murray Bridge. So I'm really excited for that. I always go well down in Murray in South Australia. I've always had a good run down there. So I'm definitely looking forward to get my hands on that track. And it definitely looks like it's going to be a fun joint.
That's it. And then Maitland had a round last, I think in 19, I think they had a round. It looks like it gets pretty hard packed with some pretty deep ruts. Then we go to Wodonga. I don't think Wodonga's been on the schedule maybe ever. Could be wrong.
I've seen it. I can't say I've ever seen it in a nationals, and I haven't ridden it personally. So yeah, that's going to be. It's cool though, especially having tracks like that not too many people know about or not that haven't ridden that. So yeah, it's going to be cool to be able to get down there and have a couple different tracks.
Yeah, I've been there. I never rode it. I've seen the track, and it actually doesn't look like a bad track. Like it's sort of sandy loam, pretty open layout, especially for where it is. Like it's when you get there, there's a big dirt track like really nice dirt track, oval dirt track, and then the motocross track's kind of just tucked in beside it. So for where the location is, actually the track doesn't look too bad and doesn't look like it races too bad. Then obviously we got 3 Queensland rounds, or two tracks, 3 rounds. We haven't been announced where we're going there. We were just talking about that before. Caleb, what's your...
What did Peter say about it before I go say it?
Well, he said it's getting announced tomorrow, so he wouldn't give us the inside word here because this podcast won't go live till tomorrow, but he wouldn't give us the inside word. But he said to keep in mind that it may be a cross-promoted event, so it'll be somewhere where you can either do car racing, bike, or like road bike racing or off-road racing. Could be one of those facilities and be cross-promoted with another series. So
by the sounds of it, it is going to be a cross-promoted event, and it's going to be something pretty cool by the sounds of it, and it's something that is going to be cool for the motorcycles part of it. It's going to hopefully get a couple more competitors that we usually don't see throughout the year kind of maybe jump on the gate. So that's what I'm kind of excited about for round 6 to be announced. So, yeah, it's going to be pretty cool. So wait and see. And obviously Coolum is a doubleheader. That's going to get gnarly. It's going to get rough. So
as it always
got to
does.
love that joint.
Yes, as it always does.
Do you have a hot tip for round 6, Caleb? Where do you think it's going to be?
Oh, it's going to be in southeast Queensland.
Is it going to be located anywhere near Boona?
I can't say it. He hasn't said anything, I'm not saying it.
So, out of all 7 of them tracks, Caleb, where are you looking forward to the most?
In all honesty, I raced Canberra back at my second ever Aussie titles way back when, probably like 07.
Yeah, well, that would have been the one I did,
Divi
which is Divi 2. That's how young he is. I was on Junior Light 125 and you're on Divi 2, but yes, continue.
Yeah, so Divi 2, but yeah, I did like that track. Obviously, it's going to be a bit different being on a big bike now. Gilman, in all honesty, that's going to be my track of choice.
Yeah,
I'm really looking forward to get my hands on down there. I love South Australia. The crowd down there is always unreal, and it's cool. I just like going down that way. Although it's far from home, it's definitely somewhere that I've always had good results and really enjoyed down there. If they're going to be missing Murray Bridge, probably one of my favourite tracks that's been on the circuit for the last couple of years, I'm definitely glad they're going to Gilman. So yeah, it's going to be a good series, and I'm excited to see what Peter and the entire MA do for motocross next year. It's going to be definitely taking a step in the right direction. It's going to have plenty of depth, and it's going to be good having a couple of boys back like Nathan Crawford and a couple of them boys that were overseas. They're going to be back. Jay Wilson, no doubt, will be still in MX2.
Is Crawford back?
Well, he
Crawford's
is
back. He's in Oz.
He's aged out.
Okay.
So unless he gets a 450,
did not know that.
Yeah, he's 23. So unless he gets a 450 ride, he can't go back to.
Nah, he's an Aussie boys. He's on a blue bike. So
look at you dropping the hot takes on the show here, mate.
He's all scoop.
Hey,
Scoop.
Yeah.
Ain't got shit on Daniel Blair.
So it's going to be good having them boys back. Obviously, it's going to keep the depth in that MX2 class. It's always pretty gnarly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to getting up there and mixing it up, and hopefully having a year back where we've got a date that we can now aim for. It's not just going to be continually pushed back.
Yeah.
So although it's 5 months away or whatever it might be, it's something we can definitely put our heads down and work towards. So as I said, we'll finish off the year. A lot of us are still working this year, so we'll just keep on chipping away until kind of December comes, and then kind of probably a lot of us will go back to just riding full time and getting back on the wagon again, and definitely putting our head down, butt up, and getting ready for a definitely interesting round 1. It's going to be big. Not having raced a lot of boys in New South Wales and Vic and the WA boys in such a long time. Like we've never, especially in my career, I haven't raced an Australian level I haven't not raced an Australian level in this long of a time.
Yeah.
So.
Well,
it's going to be very, very entertaining.
Yeah, well, we were gonna also ask what your worst track was going to be, but I could tell you right now it's going to be the final 2 rounds. You are not a massive fan of Coolum, so
I'm honest, I hate Coolum. I shouldn't say hate. Hate's probably a bad word. But
hate strong.
I definitely don't like Coolum when it's flat, but I've had my best results in the last couple of years at that place when it gets rough and gnarly and the track is completely, when it's slowed down, and the quickest line is to just bulldog your way around the shortest loop.
Yeah.
I seem to be able to make it happen. So I'm actually looking forward to, especially Sunday, the second day there, I'm really looking forward to being able to get out and get some starts and just pick the shortest route and just manhandle the thing around for that 30 minutes. So Coolum, in all honesty, probably isn't going to be probably my worst track per se that I'd be least looking forward to. In all honesty, the schedule's looking pretty good for me. A lot of hard pack and rough tracks, so that's something that I'm usually really good at. And a lot of first corners where I can get my butt into gear and launch out of there with that 63 horsepower.
Hey, speaking of Coolum, are you doing the Coolum Classic here next weekend?
No, Supercross suspension and Coolum definitely does my mix, and I will not be there.
You're going to go onto the stadium track. At least you'll be struggling around a motocross track, but when it links onto the stadium track, you're on.
Yeah, it would be good. I just feel as if Sam rollers around that one bit. I just don't. Something just doesn't tell me it's going to end well. So
that's the
yeah, that's been good. As I said, myself and Aaron have just been kind of riding around at home here. It's been good, just spinning some laps on a Supercross track. So it's something that I enjoy doing. I always enjoy doing Supercross at the end of the year. And this year, although we didn't get to race it, I still lift everything up and made it gnarly and fun. And it's just, it's been good to be able to kind of take the serious side out of Supercross for once in our lives, instead of having to go and get ready in 2 weeks and know you're racing on the third week. We've just been able to kind of ease into it per se, even though you kind of can't really ease into Supercross. So it's been good to just be able to spin some laps and have a bit of fun on it.
So do you find riding Supercross, even without the racing, is it just keeping a bit sharper on the bike, or is it just keeping the skill level a little bit different, or just mixing it up a little bit different? So, or is it just you got to chase the Tamp Man around, or...
Well, I wanted to chase Danny around. Obviously, I got told pretty quick that what his plan was and when he was going to go over to America. So he had that goal straight away, and I wanted to help him get there. So I gave him the track and said, dude, just do what you need to do. I love seeing you over there, and you got a dream. Let's chase it. So make it happen. So we got it all ready, and it definitely has been keeping us sharp. Obviously, we all know that Supercross, you have a memory blank in 0.2 of a second, and you're ending up in a hospital bed. So we've definitely still been switched on, and we've just been chipping away and working a little bit, and then getting out on the dirt bike and having a bit of fun. But it's been good. It's kind of the first time that we've been able to spin laps and go out and do our motos, and then after we mess around and hit some transfers or hit the lanes backwards. And it certainly, for me, it hasn't been treated like every other year where you've had, as I said, 2 weeks, and on the third week you're racing your first round of Supercross after doing a whole year of doing motocross. So it's been good to have that little bit of a break in between and just ride it and know that we're not racing it. We can just, kind of ease our way into it per se, even though you kind of can't.
Yeah, well, obviously, as I say, you've been riding and doing all that and, keeping sharp. But the other thing we've seen, social media, during the week, is you're back in the gym, mate, sparring by the looks of it, moving around. You talked about it on the last show coming on here that you wanted to get back in the ring and do some stuff. How's that all been going for you?
Yeah, it's been really good. As I said on the last show, COVID's been a pain in the butt for a lot of things, but it's been good in a sense that we've been able to get out and do a couple of different things. Like definitely been jumping back on the cycle a lot more, especially a couple months ago when we did them couple races. So it's definitely been fun. And then, getting back into the ring. So... yeah, it's been good. Definitely been jumping in the ring a fair bit. Been doing a fair bit of sparring with Jack Assis and a couple of the other boys here at Smithy's Gym. So they're world class caliber. As I said, Jack is multi-time Australian champ, and he definitely knows how to throw a punch and knows how to miss them. So it's been good to be able to jump in the ring, get my ass handed to me. So it's definitely something that looking into late 2021, we'll wait and see what happens. But there's definitely a bit of talk going on and seeing what we can work out. So
what date can I pencil in, Trent, for the fight?
I've got 1 more week to go. I'm starving myself still. I'm ready for this one to be done. Oh, look, mate, it's good. Like we're at weight. I feel good. I've done a lot of rounds of sparring now, which I hadn't done leading up to it. Just trying to find a good gym, It's hard to find a good gym where you can go and actually spar and learn something, not just go in there
Get your
and
head punched.
get your head punched in for a few rounds and stroke someone's ego. So found a good gym that helped out with that and has been helping me get better. And man, we're just we're on the countdown now. It's getting very close. So are you coming up or what?
No, I'm not going to end up making it up there. I definitely threw a jersey up there to Lockie the other day and tried promoting and doing everything we can for you boys. I'm definitely be rooting for you. But it's good to see. It's good to see what they're doing up there, and I really like the concept of it. And I definitely think that for next year, cool and finale, I definitely think there'll be plenty of big egos. I think we should throw a big set of gloves on 15s and egg gears, and I'm sure there'll be a couple of people that want to jump in the ring, and I'd definitely be one of them.
Well, I think that's more of something with might be trying to be worked out here in the background too. Obviously there's a couple of races that are fighting. Obviously Lockie's fighting myself. I'm not going to call myself a racer, but we're gonna say industry person. But Lockie's a top level rider. You've got Jai Walker's fighting, and he's a young up and comer. You got Coach Drew. So it's cool to see a bit of this cross stuff. So it'd be interesting if we could try and maybe put something together next year and just get a few of you racers doing some cross training and do some fun stuff rather than just racing all the time.
Yeah, it'd definitely be cool. And at the end of next year, as I said, wait and see. But yeah, I'd say there'll be a pretty big announcement by then. And yeah, we're definitely, for myself, I know I'm definitely jumping back in that ring again. So it's gonna be fun for me, and it's gonna be something that I haven't done to that level. I said I gave boxing a pretty good dig when I was younger, but got a Golden Gloves and a couple other titles. But it's something that I'm definitely next year gonna put a bit more focus into it and gonna definitely have a bit more of a crack at it. So we're gonna see how it goes.
Just going back to the motocross stuff here, we talked about a bit of your personal stuff. Back to the motocross. One of my questions that I asked Peter was obviously, does Todd get to run his number one plate, which he does get to run that in 21. Obviously you would be for that. Like, what's your opinion on that?
Oh, exactly. He deserved it. He's the last reigning Australian champion. There's no reason that he shouldn't get to run that. Todd, he's an awesome dude. And it's going to be a very interesting year in that 450 class. It's going to be good to see. As I said, it's just there's so many unknowns, especially for the spectators and for guys like yourselves and that are going to be on the sidelines, are going to be able to be like, righto, well, who is ready? Who after a whole year of not racing is going to be able to go out there with all that testosterone in that first corner and come out on top. So
yeah, for sure.
It's going to be a very interesting year. But Toddy definitely, he deserves that number one plate.
Yeah.
And it'd be the same as if Wilson Todd was coming back here to race MX2 next year. He deserves that number one plate. He was the last MX2 champion. So, but yeah, so Toddy gets to run that, and it's looking like a good calendar. Everything looks like the pieces are falling into place for motocross for next year. So I'm excited to see what Peter and the MA crew do. So it's going to be an awesome year.
Yeah.
So your program for next year, is it going to look pretty much the same, or a bit of a mixing it up a little bit?
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be a bit different for me off bike wise. As I said, I'm definitely going to incorporate a lot more boxing into it, which is something that the last time I did that, I was an Australian champ, and it was probably the best form of my life. So I'm really excited to kind of bring the boxing aspect back into it a bit more. It's just going to be kind of weighing up what's going to be too much and what's not going to be. Too much time in the ring and too little time on the bike. So and just sorting all that out at the minute, and that just got the good people in my corner and that, and just excited to work it out and get back to.
What about bike and gear and all that? Is that all staying the same or?
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be very similar.
Yeah,
there's not going to be anything too dramatic. I know I'm definitely still going to be a full barrack. So and Elfstone Star and all the crew behind me they're absolutely unreal. I definitely would never change from them. They treat me like one of their own. So the boys from Elfs and that, excited to be running that and getting all that stuff organised for next year. And just excited to get back behind the gates at the Australian level, get the crowd back out there and make it a good year.
Yeah.
So rumour on the street is, if you put a number 17 on your bike, you go a lot faster. Can we trial this in 21?
No,
I'm pretty sure that it's just if you're a number 17 and you pick a good colour bike, then you go.
Easy.
You get on the right brand of bike.
Hey, we're looking good.
Hey, what about the 16? It's the reigning champ.
Sorry, who?
Yeah,
the 16, mate. Who's the 450 champ?
I'm going home.
I love it. No, I am excited to see how Savachi goes on that Rocky Mountain KTM. So it's going to be very interesting to see him rock up at whatever the first round is over there and see how he goes.
Yeah.
So, in your opinion, what's your biggest surprise of the
Where's Blake Baggett?
American silly season?
Where's Blake Baggett?
Yeah.
But not just that. I want to know what happened. Why he terminated. Well, not terminated, but why they didn't come to agreements in that 2-year deal. Why he's ending his contract a year early.
Drive loaders.
Yeah, well, they were saying on Main Event as I was driving here. Apparently, he's still got a little injury with his hand, and there's a bit of a pay dispute. And yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's
it makes sense that it's money related. But
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know why you'd be jeopardising that kind of at this stage. He's obviously got a plan B.
Yeah.
He obviously had a plan B. He's got something organised. So
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what that pulls out. The Lawrence brothers and all that will be announcing theirs. I'm pretty sure in the next week or whatever it is. But yeah, it's gonna be pretty cool to see them and their deal they got. So
who does it look like the Tank Man's going to be lining up with? Who's his teammate?
On his team or in West Coast?
On his team. Surely they're going to run. Are they running 2 bikes on the west, 2 on the east, or?
I'm assuming they're only going to run the 2 on the west. I'm assuming. I
Yeah.
could be wrong though.
Yeah.
But yeah, in all honesty, I haven't actually chatted to Aaron too much about anything else besides for what he's doing. As I said, we just wanted to make sure that he was sorted, and he's been testing a little bit over here and just getting his eye in, and he's looking good. So it's going to be, he's a bulldog, so he'll rock up there no matter what form he's in, whether or not he's injured or not, and he'll make it happen. So.
I hope he runs under an AMA license this time.
So he gets his points.
Yeah, because
so he gets his number.
Yeah, because he was meant to be, believe it or not, number 69.
Yes.
He was going to be number 69, which we all know is a great number. But
great number. That's good luck right there.
100% for the Tank Man. That would have been good luck. But hopefully he does. But it looks like really good. He did a great thing over there this year. So fingers crossed for him. It's a really good step in the right direction.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That COVID tried to make it hard for him to get over there, but he just put his head down and he was so determined to get over there. So he just did everything he had to do to make it happen. So
Yeah, well, we're trying to get him on the show, either this show next week, or I'm trying to get him in for his own one-on-one and kind of go through his story, because he has a pretty unique story to tell. So a little teaser for everyone out there listening. We could have
talk some fantasy with him. See if he can win me some points.
Could be just a one-on-one talking about his career, which would be cool, because I've got a lot of questions about his career that I'd love to know about, and where he's come from and that sort of stuff. So that'd be cool to have his side of things, and obviously talk about it and announce his team deal and everything like that.
yeah, exactly that. And he's an unreal guy. I said I've been fortunate enough that he's been one of my best mates since he moved up here to Queensland. We train on bike, off bike, and chat not pretty much. We chat every day, whether or not it be for 2 minutes or 2 hours. So he's definitely an awesome dude, and I'm really looking forward to him going over there, and we wish him all the best. So.
Nah, cool. All right, Caleb. Well, we appreciate you coming on tonight, giving us your little insight, catch up with you. You are a friend of the show, mate, so you're welcome anytime. I was hoping to have you in studio, but we couldn't make it happen. But definitely we're going to have you back in here again shortly, especially when we start doing some AMA preview stuff and potentially Australian preview stuff now too, that we actually have racing to talk about here in Australia. So...
Yeah, it's exactly that. No, I can't thank you enough for having me on there. It's going to be an interesting year next year here in Australia and over in America, so it's going to be awesome, and there's going to be plenty to chat about, especially with you boys. So thanks for having me on, boys, and I'll chat to you later on.
Awesome, mate. And we'll talk off air about a helmet sticker deal for you, hey? You run the Moto Limited on the helmet next year.
Oh, okay, well, you better go good in this ring then.
No pressure.
No pressure at all. Sounds like a plan.
All right,
boys.
See you, mate.
See you, mate.
Caleb Barham, he's a
character.
He's got a lot, dude. I love having Caleb on. He can talk, which is a good thing on a podcast, but he's always positive too. Like he always has a good outlook on what's going on in the sport, in life, and things like that. Like if you're ever down, have a chat to Caleb, because he'll bring you back up. But I think that's a Toowoomba trait. You boys all in Toowoomba always seem to have that ability to pick us
I'm taking that as a
outsiders.
compliment.
Take it as a compliment, mate.
Thanks, Trent.
Take it as a compliment, mate. A lot of my good mates are from Toowoomba. So
Shout out, Kerr Morrissey.
yeah, Kerr Morrissey. Cool. All right. Well, that a good chat with Caleb there, getting a little insight into a few things with him and what's going on. Man, another hour and a half mark, which is good. Camera looks like it's still going, so hopefully people are entertained by sitting here watching us yabber on for an hour and a half.
I hope so.
I hope so. Obviously, a couple of things to finish up. Obviously the fight's coming up. We talked about it there with Caleb. My fight with Lockie, pound for pound 36 up there. Caboolture, we're 1 week away or less than 1 week away. Feeling good, feeling ready to go. The live auctions will start after the event. We're just trying to make sure we have all of the items first before we start auctioning them off, and they'll probably come in dribs and drabs after that because we have some overseas stuff coming that's taking a little while to get here and things like that. So if you guys are definitely looking out for some item, there's plenty to come, but make sure you get around it. Again, all the proceeds from that will be going to Men's Mental Health, which we've actually had some response from some of them, so we might be able to announce who that is. It's taken a month to get a response, but we're looking like we're going in the right direction. So we'll have that all announced. The biggest thing is that we will be live streaming the weigh-ins. Nick, you're taking that over for me as he rolls his eyes here in studio.
There better be a good spot at the bar after.
Yeah, we'll get to that. So we'll be live streaming the weigh-ins. It'll be on Guillotine Boxing's Facebook page, and it'll be on the Moto Limited Network YouTube channel. And then we'll be also doing some live stream stuff, probably on Instagram from the event. Trying to get some of the guys that are showing up to watch, some of the fighters, and the word is that you boys want to record my fight and live stream that. So
we will.
Yeah, okay. So that could be on there. So if you can't make it to the event, you could be able to watch it there as well, and make sure you get in and support it. If you want to get up there and have a look, 24 Aerodrome Road, Caboolture, $30 are the tickets. Tickets are still available at the gate when you show up there. Plenty of room for everyone. So if you do want to come up and have a look, it's going to be an awesome event. Ty's got plenty on. He's got some good fighters going to be fighting at the event. Not just hacks like myself. There's legitimate fighters going to be there as well. So if you're interested in watching some good action, get up there and get involved. But yeah, live streaming those weigh-ins as well. It's going to be cool. We're going to try and get a few of the guys on and have a chat as well. So appreciate you doing that. Robbie will be out there as well, guys, and he'll be helping Nick out with that as well. So we'll have Robbie back. Another big announcement, Robbie will be back next week's show, so he'll be in studio again, getting the headphones back on and have obviously chatting about the fight will be next week's show. So a lot of stuff coming down the pipeline, guys. As I said, this live stream, this will be on Facebook. It's not live, but it'll be on Facebook and YouTube.
Yeah, it should be on by tonight.
Should be on by tonight, but you'll probably watch this tomorrow. But yeah, get to see what the in-studio here looks like and us talking away. The other big announcement for us here at the Moto Limited Network is that I will be live announcing the Coolum Classic 5th and 6th of December. The entries are open now on RiderNet if you want to get involved with that. There's team racing, there's whole shot races, there's dirt track. There's a videos just going up on their social media today where they've just completed the dirt track with an old CR500 going around it. Sounded sick. Cool. So it's going to be an awesome event. I'll be live announcing it, so I do appreciate the whole team up there at Coolum. I reached out to them a while ago, and they finally got back to me and come to an agreement to do it. So definitely going to be trying my best to keep everyone entertained up there and talking for 2 days. Nick will be up there giving me a bit of a hand throughout the weekend as well. And again, if you're not at the event, we're going to try and do some stuff on the social medias and keeping you guys across everything that's going on in the sport at the moment. And hopefully Peter Doyle takes me up on my live announcing of the could be all trending in that direction. So it's not official yet either, but it sounds like I'm going to be the announcer at the Sunny States as well as the Queensland title. So really trying to get my live announcing skills up and get my voice out there as much as I can.
So I've got to ask the question From a scale of 1 to 10, where are we looking confidence for this fight?
Look, I wanted to say 5 so bad. Look, I'm pretty confident. As I said to Caleb, I found a really good gym. It's Zion Boxing Club here in Ipswich. Lou down there has been doing an awesome job. The whole crew, there's a bunch of them. I'm still trying to learn all their names because there's so many of them, and they just walk up and give me a hand and have been giving me some advice. And Jack, who's been my sparring partner basically, he's been awesome. I walked in out of nowhere and he just put his hand up and said, "I'll spar," and he's just been helping me ever since. He is going to be my corner man by the sounds of it. And from what we discussed last night, he might be fighting on the card as well, which is cool because it's his first ever, fight. He's been training for years and years and just, never really. I think he had a fight lined up for the start of this year and it fell over, and he just hasn't, with COVID and everything, hasn't been able to put one together. So I'm pretty excited for him. He's a really good fighter, tall, lanky, long arms, and trust me, my head has snapped back a few times from the power. So whoever he's fighting, better watch out. But look, I mean, fighting a guy like that, I feel pretty confident. I'm going to say 7. I'm going to be at a 7. Just see how we weigh in, and I've got a few more sessions left this week, so we could be even higher than that come Friday. Hey, so it's good. I'm excited and just pumped to be able to do it, and again, Ty giving us the opportunity to do it firstly, and then also letting us do it for men's mental health and raise some awareness for that as well. As we've all of us sitting in here have had to deal with something along those lines from here and there along the way. So we've
Absolutely.
It's something that we're pretty passionate about for sure. Dad, how'd you go? First podcast, you've made it through.
Oh, yeah, I don't know. I guess it's up to the listeners. I find talking pretty easy. I have to do it all day, every day at work. So
Yeah.
I've always got plenty to say. So I must congratulate you too on the job you're doing on these podcasts. I mean, a lot of my reps do a lot of driving, and they all listen to your podcasts and comment on them. So yeah, it's definitely good to hear. And from the past podcasts, it's great to hear from the young fellas that I saw that were your age, that we all grew up with like families.
Yeah.
And I was talking today with the general manager about it. Some of the struggles that those young blokes went through, that us as parents didn't see any of that happening. We just think everything's okay. The kids are enjoying themselves. And I mean, from my point of view, I know you two boys love doing what you're doing, but I'm guessing we never went through a lot of that sort of stuff with racing. So it's been a real eye-opener to hear those stories and think that those young fellas at their age have dealt with so much.
Yeah.
It's just a real eye-opener for me personally. So.
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously, the other show as well. I've been doing that. I definitely want to be getting to that as well, but I do appreciate that. It was a pipe dream that, I had over 12 months ago now, and I just was nervous about whether anyone would listen and anyone would take me serious. So to have the listener base and everyone who's listening along now, like to have you guys listening in, I do appreciate each and every one of you. And as I said, we're trying to do what we can to bring you as much information as we can, and hopefully get you guys more enlightened in the sport. And with a lot of the stuff we've got coming up here in the future, where we want to help people get into the sport or stay in the sport. So it's something that we've grown up with. You gave us the ability to do it. So
Well, I must jump in there too, because I don't think the podcasting thing has changed much from the racing thing.
Yeah.
Because I remember when you rang me up and you said, I'm going to start doing these podcasts, but I need this equipment and this, that. So, okay, what do we need to get? It was the same old thing again.
Yeah, I do throw myself in everything 100%. I mean, this fight is another prime example, but I mean, it's been awesome. It's been a big experience, and one day here soon we're having you on for your own podcast on the other show, and kind of going through a few things. Like, again, as you said, it's good to hear these guys are their sides of things, and it's been very therapeutic for some of them. Some of them have really left feeling like shit, like saying some of that stuff out loud, I've
like-
never said.
like
you
a
know.
weight being
Yeah,
lifted,
like
yeah.
I feel like I've done something, and if it can help somebody else, you know. So, you know, there's definitely some stuff that, you know, I've got people I want to come in, and as I said, I want to get you on one and have a chat to you, because I think there's a lot of stuff about racing that, you know, you wouldn't know, and then I probably don't know what you went through at the same time, and give people that look into that side of it. For us, you know, there's so many stories, and that's the biggest thing with this podcast that I try to do is, you know, there's this show where it's trying to be media related and informative, but then the other show is something where I want to open some eyes to some different people. I said, like, Tanny is one that I'm trying to line up here for the future, and, you know, I think his story of bits and pieces I've heard is pretty unique, and I'm sure, like all of them, you get halfway through them and think, holy shit, there's more to this than I even thought, you know. So I want to start doing more of them. They're hard though, because they need to be in studio, and you know, we've been putting a lot of effort into this show as well. And as I said, I've been putting a lot of effort into trying to do everything at one time rather than one bit, but we're making it happen here.
I think even from tonight, that little snippet there of Caleb saying, I raced in Canberra and I was on a 50.
Yeah.
And you're like, gee, that's a long time.
Yeah.
And you think now that these kids are up to the top of the
Yeah.
sport now, and you think back like those 50 days and the 65 days and that, and the friends you meet, and that are lifelong friends, you know. So
Jet's one that throws me. Like,
Jet,
I
yeah.
see it on TV and I'm like,
Yeah.
dude, I remember when you were on a 50.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, and just that punk. Yeah, I remember when he was doing hip hop dancing, man. It's got to be out there. I can't be breaking any news here, but when he did his hip hop dancing and stuff like that, like, he was full into it. And like, motocross was like at some point second to him with that stuff. Like, it's just weird not weird, but it's interesting to see where he is now and where he was when he was a kid. Like, you know, I think I've said it on this show, like, Hunter was always driven. You could see he was always driven, and Jet just had the talent, you know, and it's cool to see him putting the hard work with the talent, and, you know.
But don't you think it's refreshing to see them young blokes in the
Yeah.
sport doing it and having the attitude they have? So.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's funny, like, we had Darkside on last week, and you know, him talking about Chad. Like, Americans get the opinion of what Australians are from what Chad was, you know, and then when they see, like, the Lawrence boys, they're like, oh, these guys are out of control. Like, that's Australians. Like, we're all exactly like that.
You're
like,
exactly on the money there. Like, yeah, that's another thing as well. Like, looking back at, like, sort of feeling old for once. We're not going to have Chad next year.
nah, yeah,
That's
yeah, that,
yeah.
well, yeah, we're not.
Okay. Well,
Can I share with you my Chad Reed story?
Yeah. Hey, we talked about. Remember last week we were talking to Darkside about Dad's McGrath story. Oh, this guy, he's met everyone, and I've met none of them.
Yeah, well, the McGrath thing, I was at a trade show in Vegas, and Jeremy McGrath's there signing autographs, and there was a line up a mile long, and Tracy was with me. I said, oh, here's Jeremy over here. I might go over and say g'day. So I get over there and get a picture with him and start talking to him, get him to sign this thing. But I got him to sign it for Trent's little bloke, the grandson, and Trent comes over and goes, oh, I've always wanted one of those posters. He doesn't even know who Jeremy McGrath is. And I'm like, oh, well, I got a photo. I was chilled the fat with him, and, you know. So, anyway, getting back to the Chad Reed story. So that same event in Canberra in the Aussie Junior titles.
oh yeah, 2004.
No, it was 2006. I'm
Yep.
pretty sure.
Yeah, I think you had a
07.
06,
Well, 07 is when I
125,
broke my leg and was at Coolum. So
good
06. Yeah.
Because you rode 125 and 250
Yeah,
there, didn't you?
but I didn't qualify 250.
Yeah.
Crashed.
So Trent's sitting in the dummy grid at Canberra, for anybody's been there. It's at the back of the start area. And he's the only person there. And Chad was out on the track talking with a bunch of kids, and he's got a throng around him. No one could get anywhere near him. Anyway, he finished an interview in the infield, and he walked out through the dummy grid. And all was sitting in the dummy grid was Trent sitting on his bike and me there. And I said to Trent, oh, here comes Chad. So anyway, I said, say good day to him. Trent's like, no. Anyway, I'm just like, hey, Chad. He goes, hey, you guys, what are you doing? You know, that's a bad American accent. But,
Clip that.
anyway, so he starts talking away to Trent just like he's another rider. And, you know, when he left, I said, how cool is he? And he goes, yeah, he's just like one of us, you know. And everybody puts him up on a pedestal, but he's still a racer. So anyway, fast forward, what was this, 2 years ago when I was in Vegas, he was there. And he's on the Suzuki. He's on the Suzuki stand. And I walked over and said, hey, Chad. And he goes, oh, you're from Australia. I said, yeah. I said, I work for Link, blah, blah, blah. And, oh, yeah. I said, I'm at the trade show here. Oh, yeah. I said, can I share a photo with you? Because I took a photo of Trent and Ryan with him at the presentation. I said, you remember the presentation in Canberra at the Aussie Junior titles and whenever those? Yeah, I went down there with my cousin. So here's a picture at the presentation. He goes, oh, wow, man, that's cool. That's great seeing that old stuff like that. And I'm like, sweet.
That's cool. yeah. It's funny, like, when you talk with Chad, I've had the pleasure of doing it a few times, and you can tell when he is genuinely interested in what you are saying and the conversation that's happening.
Well, he's changed a heap now, and that's from that conversation we had with Darkside, they're like, and when he first went over there, everyone's like he couldn't talk to him, he did this and that, but now he's you can tell he's way different, even with his media and stuff. He's still the same, brash dude at some times, but
of course.
You can tell when he's definitely interested, and he has some opinions on some shit too.
It's funny, 2018 Las Vegas, we were walking the track all together, and he was actually sort of having a bit of a blue with one of the track guys about changing something.
That doesn't sound like Chad.
Doesn't sound like Chad or anything like that. Anyways, he had that real angry look on his face, and I was like, stand around because I sort of wanted to get a bit of a photo with him.
Yeah.
And walked up, and I was just like, the expression on his face is like, oh, dude, another fan. Like, fucking kill me now. Yeah. Second I started talking, heard the accent.
Yeah.
You could legitimately see it in his eyes that he was interested to talk.
Yeah.
And like that, it's a really special thing to actually see it.
Yeah. No. So, one day, mate, we're going to make it over there. When
I'm going to have to keep you on a leash over there.
Oh, dude, I'm going to be just gone.
I got one more before we go. I was at the same Vegas event at the Monster Energy Cup.
The one I was supposed to go to.
I don't remember that.
So we're up in the corporate area because we had a bunch of...
You must have nearly been together.
We probably would have been.
Yeah.
So we got a bunch of Pirelli dealers that won a competition. So we took 12 dealers over to Vegas for a week. Anyway, so part of it was going to the Monster Energy Cup. So we're up in the corporate box. Anyway, the whole racing event's finished, and I'm walking down the spiral staircase, and as all Aussies do, we walk on the left-hand side.
Yep.
The Americans walk on the right-hand side. I'm going down the spiral staircase. I've shoulder charged straight into somebody. I didn't even look. Anyway, he's gone, oh, you're right there, buddy. And I'm like, oh. Turn around. Oh, I've just shoulder charged Ricky Carmichael.
Just a Texas Ricky Carmichael.
yeah. Dad's accent's a shocking.
That's awesome.
But yes, he shoulder charges Carmichael in the stairwell, and just I
want to go overseas with you.
Yeah.
Sorry, Trent, you're out, brother.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
Who else was up there? Did you say, oh, Brian Deegan's up the end in that corporate box?
Yeah, because Dad sent me like a video or something like that, and then for some reason, I don't know, Dad sends me a video, and I'm like, and I just was watching like a live stream Deegan was doing or something. Like, I don't know why I was watching it. It just was on. And anyway, I'm like looking at that, and then Dad sends me this video, and I'm looking at it. I'm like, turn you right. I think Deegan's like right next to you, like two videos. I'm in Australia looking at these two videos going, Dad, I think you're sitting next to Deegan. And he's like, oh,
I've got no idea.
Yeah, where? And I'm like, I think to your right from the video I'm looking at. Like, he's fucking oblivious to it all. And that's what I mean. He comes back from America and he goes, oh yeah, well, I had, I talked to McGrath and I brought this back for Jaden. Yeah, thanks, Dad. I grew up on McGrath. He's my, one of my all-time favourite riders. Just get Jaden a signed picture. And then he goes, oh yeah, and I was going to take you this year, but your mother wanted to go, and I'm like, yeah, thanks, Mum. Just like,
and then boom, COVID.
And then that's ruined it. But hey, we've got aspirations to get over there.
One day, mate. One day.
World Vets 2021 in Glen Helen.
I ain't working on bikes.
I'm working on the bar.
Well, speaking of the bar, we didn't get to that either. So after the main events here on the weekend, there is an after party where the location is still unknown, but there will be an after party. So if you want to get involved and you're at the event,
Message me.
see one of us, because the after party's on. I've spent 8 weeks of no alcohol, no food, no nothing. I've earned it. I've definitely earned it.
It's been a killer. I've seen you struggle through it.
Oh, yeah, it's been tough. It's been tough. Anyway, guys, let's wrap this one up. This has been show number 19 of the Moto Limited show. Again, massive thank you must go out to the CEO of Motorcycling Australia, Peter Doyle, giving us his time, going through all this stuff. He's a very busy guy, got a lot going on to give us, end up being 35 minutes of his time. Really do appreciate that. And again, hopefully we can have him on here in the future when the racing actually gets back going and, get his insight as to how everything's going. Obviously, we'll be trying to be there, so we'll be able to give him our opinion as well, as much as whatever that's worth to him. But yeah, appreciate him. And then obviously Caleb coming on there as well. Just giving us a bit of insight what's going on in his world and, getting ready for 21 and beyond. Again, can't do this show without the sponsors, MPE Suspension and Pro Powder Coating. If there's anyone out there that's looking to get involved with the show, get in contact with myself. Either come through the social media DMs or hit us up any way you can, and we'd love to have the conversation and get you involved with the show. As I said, live stream should be up and going next week, Nick. No pressure.
If it's not, then
you're losing your director tab and you're out.
I'm starting to like this chair. So.
You got to be living there for a bit to get this going. So live stream coming, guys. So if you're involved, want to watch live, it's going to be Monday night. 6 o'clock is going to be the start time. We're going to keep this as a regular. You'll be able to comment into the show, ask questions as we are live, and we're going to have probably a live listener question segment coming up. So plenty going on with this show. Make sure you guys stick around, get involved with it as much as you can, and make it happen. And we'll be back here with more content. Fight this weekend. Keep your eyes peeled on the social medias. There's going to be lots of stuff coming your way. So if you're interested, it's coming. Big plans before that. Next week's show, Nick, you'll be back again. As I said, Robbie will be back. We'll be debriefing on the fight. Got some guests in the pipeline as well coming down. So another cool show coming up. Then we're probably going to have a week off here soon because
probably after Coolum.
I'm buggered. Yeah, then we got Coolum the following week. We were talking about this the other day. We're like, what's our schedules like? And I'm like, this. We're going to have to do AMA reviews before Supercross start. We got so much coming up. But hey, look, hopefully you guys are enjoying this, listening in. We're doing our best to get you as much information as we can and keep you guys entertained during this time when not much racing, not much going on. Again, thank you, Dad, coming in.
Thanks for having me. I've enjoyed it. It's the first one, but yeah.
We'll have to get you in again soon.
Oh, definitely.
Give you some more airtime. You're a bit quiet on this one, but
I've got one question.
Yeah.
In your field of work, if you could have one brand from anywhere in the world that is moto related and you were the distributor for it, who would it be?
Oh, look, being from an off-road background, I think Alpine Star would be the perfect brand to have.
Yep.
Definitely. I mean, we've got some great brands.
yeah, they got a lot of the top ones. So
I'm not complaining.
No, but obviously off that, they've got a lot of the big brands in those other industries. The one they don't have is obviously apparel. So and boots. Alpine Star boots are the kingpin of boots. So
TCX are still pretty good.
That's right. But Alpine Star sell themselves. They're branding.
Exactly,
they've done their job in branding, and Alpine Star as a brand has one of the most recognisable in our sport, I think. So if you're a distributor for that brand, you're not doing much advertisement. You just put them on the shelf and they sell themselves, which is
definitely.
Coming from that side of things is where you.
Yeah, good question. I mean, I think that would be one of the premium off-road brands for sure. So,
Yep. Oh, very good. Yeah, it's just a bit of a sneaky question. I thought
you were going to ask a personal question.
Hey,
what it's like to have a kid like me.
I thought you were going to ask me something about it.
Yeah. No. Nobody wants to listen to that. Nobody wants to hear about it.
I'm sure they do. We'll talk about it. Don't you worry.
Yeah, it'll come shortly. I think I put a lot of myself out here, so there's not too much left on. But there are a lot of stories.
I'm sure there's a few.
There's a lot of stories.
There are plenty.
One dude I got to get on, my best mate Cam. Get him on Story Start then, even though he's heard them 300 times. There's a lot of stories.
He's lived through them.
He's been in all of them. So yeah, thank you, Dad. Thank you. Nick, again. Live stream didn't quite work, but hey,
we'll get there.
We're in the right direction.
If it's not a podcast if we don't have
teething issues. Yeah, I appreciate that. Appreciate all the work. Director Nick, I think is going to be your new title.
I like it.
Director Nick, yeah.
It's got a bit of a ring to it.
Yeah, you're directing it. I'll produce the show. You direct it with the video. Done. Alrighty, we made it happen again. Thank you to our guests. Thank you to you guys in studio. Thank you to my wife again for giving us the time to sit in studio here, away from everything. And we will be back next week with another show. But until then, see you next week.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.